No one expects it to be their final moment. Just one more turn, one distraction, a single second, and suddenly the sound, the crash, the silence. But what if I told you that at the very instant life seems to end, the soul begins to awaken? As the eyes of the body close, another sight, deeper and eternal, opens wide. Here begins one of the most mysterious and sacred journeys of the human soul. What happens in the first moments after a fatal accident? Does the soul feel? Does it see? Does it know it has departed? The answer is not found in doctrines alone. It echoes in the heart of thousands of spiritual encounters, visions, and real testimonies that reveal a quiet, astonishing pattern. No matter the faith, the country, the age, these souls all seem to speak of the same mystery. In this video, we will cross the boundary between the visible and the unseen, and by the end, you may never see life or death the same way again. Welcome to Bible Stories and Mysteries. Subscribe now so you never miss a revelation, a turn too sharp, a flash of metal, a scream that never finishes, and then nothing. Time no longer moves as it once did. The world continues. But not for you. Something has broken open not just bones or glass, but the veil between what is seen and what has always been waiting behind it. In that suspended instant, when flesh is torn and breath escapes, the soul does not collapse. It listens. It begins to rise, not like smoke or shadow, but like something ancient being awakened, drawn upward by an invisible force. Silence settles, but it is not empty, it is holy. The body lies motionless, still entangled in the wreckage, but the awareness that once pulsed inside it now floats just above, disoriented, aware, watching, not with eyes, but with an unfamiliar clarity, as if true sight begins only when the physical world fades. This is not yet heaven. It is a crossing, the threshold between the mortal and the eternal, the place where screams and whispers share the same silence. No one taught you how to die, and yet something within knows what to do. Here, breath is no longer needed. The lungs have stopped, but you have not. You are not your injuries. You are not your last moment. The body feels distant now, like a coat you once wore. And as the sirens approach from afar, a deeper sound calls from within, a kind of stillness filled with presence. What if death is not an ending, but an unveiling? What if the instant everything breaks is also the moment something eternal begins? The soul has left the wreckage, but it has not yet departed. What does it see in this first sacred moment beyond? Shall we step closer? The body lies broken, but something remains watching. Hovering inches above the twisted wreckage, the soul begins to understand. It is no longer bound by bones or skin, yet it still feels something. Not pain exactly, but a residue of the last moment, a kind of echo as if the body's final gasp left a tremor in the spirit. There is confusion, but not fear. No heartbeat, yet a rhythm. No breath, yet awareness flows. The soul hovers, unsure of how to move, or even what movement means now. It sees the scene below, the crushed metal, the collapsed chest, the blood pooling fast. It sees itself, but from where? I'm still here. The thought doesn't come with lips or lungs. It simply forms, complete, undeniable. That's my body, but I'm not in it. This realization breaks the world in two. For a moment, the soul clings to its former self, unsure if it should dive back in or keep drifting upward. There's a tension, like being pulled between gravity and light. Sensations still ripple through the soul. The cold of metal, the jolt of the crash, the weight of limbs that no longer move. But alongside those impressions comes something new. A clarity that was never present in life. A strange widening of vision. The soul can see in every direction, not just forward. It can sense things that aren't physical grief radiating from a bystander, fear hanging in the air like smoke. There is no heartbeat, yet something is pulsing, a kind of awareness that feels ancient and childlike all at once. The soul wonders, was I always this awake? In this liminal space, language dissolves. There are no words, but pure knowing. No noise, but layers of meaning flooding in. The soul remembers things it had forgotten, moments of love, flashes of regret, a childhood prayer whispered in darkness. And then, something stirs nearby. A presence. It does not speak, yet it fills the space. The soul feels seen, not judged, not examined, simply known, fully, deeply, without fear. This being does not move closer, but the soul is drawn to it. Somewhere far off, the living are arriving, sirens scream, doors slam, voices cry out. But the soul is no longer tethered to urgency. That world seems distant now, like a memory whispered behind glass. Still, the pull remains. The soul is between, not quite here, not yet there. I'm not dead, I just left the body. It's not denial, it's awakening. The soul feels more alive now than it did 5 minutes ago when the heart still beat. The body was only the shell, a sacred one, yes, but never the whole story. As this awareness deepens, the soul begins to rise not upward in space, but inward in light. There's no effort, it simply happens, like breath once did. And in that rising, a quiet truth settles. I have passed through something. I am not what I was. Yet what waits now, just beyond this veil? What is the purpose of this strange in-between? The air has changed. Or perhaps it is no longer air at all. The soul floats in something quieter than silence, deeper than darkness. Not empty, but full, brimming with presence. Then it begins, first a shift in the light, not from the sun or any earthly source, but from somewhere beyond. It glows without shadow, it pulses without heat. The soul does not see it with eyes, yet it recognizes its touch. It is not harsh or sudden. It is gentle, like dawn pressing against the skin of the world. And within that light, others begin to emerge. They do not walk or speak, yet they are undeniably there. Shapes, impressions, living radiance. Some seem familiar, others completely unknown, and still there is no fear, only awe. These figures do not come forward in haste. They wait, they observe, they honor. Are they angels? Are they the departed? The soul does not ask with words, but with awareness. And the answer comes like memory long buried. You know them, not always from this life, but from some place more ancient than time. One presence draws near, its warmth is distinct. Then a flood of memory rises. A grandmother's gentle hands, a brother's carefree laugh, a face not seen since childhood, now glowing with eternal clarity. You are not alone in this threshold. That realization becomes an anchor. The watchers are not passive. Their silence is a kind of prayer. They are here to witness your return, not as judges, but as those who remember who you were before the world tried to tell you otherwise. And within their gaze, the soul feels a stirring, not anxiety, not loss, but a strange, almost sacred longing now fulfilled. This is not a courtroom, it is a homecoming. Among them stand others you do not recognize, beings clothed in light, unfamiliar but majestic. Their stillness is not absence, it is power restrained. They are guardians, sentinels, present by divine appointment. The scriptures speak of such beings. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who shall inherit salvation? These are not poetic symbols, they are reality. They wait in reverence for the soul's readiness. Heaven does not rush. Eternity waits with grace, and in that patient space, the soul absorbs light and presence and memory. Everything you were still lingers. But now, you begin to sense everything you were meant to become. As peace settles deeper, the light bends slightly. A flicker, almost imperceptible, moves along the edge of this radiant realm. Not all who arrive are ready to depart. What holds a soul back when the path ahead is open? The light still surrounds you, but now there is weight. Not from the body you've left behind, but from something unseen, something felt in the center of your being. A tug, gentle but firm, as if something below is still calling your name. You turn, not with motion, but with attention. And there it is. The scene of the accident, the broken body, the weeping voices of those who loved you. your name echoing through sobs. The ache in their cries cuts through the peace like a thread pulling you back. You begin to understand. The soul is free, yet not all freedom feels like release. There are attachments stronger than death. Love unfinished, words never spoken, forgiveness never offered. The soul hovers not because it is denied passage, but because part of it still clings to the earth it once called home. A mother cries out at the edge of the wreckage. A child weeps, unaware of what the silence truly means. The soul feels their pain, not as a memory, but as a shared vibration. It does not suffer in the human sense, but it grieves. And sometimes, that grief binds. You recall promises whispered in the dark, prayers left unanswered, guilt buried beneath years of pretending. These things surface now, clearer than ever before. They are not accusations, they are invitations to release. Yet some souls hesitate. Some linger near hospitals, homes, or roadsides, not as ghosts, but as hearts unfinished. They hope to comfort, to speak, to touch again, but touch is no longer possible in the old way. Now, their presence is felt as a warmth in the room, a dream that won't leave, a breath of air when the windows are closed. And some stay not for others but for themselves. Fear can anchor a soul, not terror but fear of judgment of what lies ahead. In that moment the soul wonders, will I be received? Have I done enough? Am I known and still loved? But love, true love, does not abandon. Psalm 23 offers a whisper to the soul. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. That shadow is not a threat, but a threshold. The valley is not the destination, it is only the crossing. Still, the soul must choose. No hand will force it forward. Divine presence waits, but never drags. The journey beyond is always an invitation. And yet, some souls remain for days, others for years. Earth time no longer applies, but the emotional tether pulls as long as the soul allows it. Some find peace quickly, lifted by grace. Others wander, searching for permission to let go. So the question lingers, suspended like mist between two worlds. What does it take for the soul to finally release its hold on the life it once knew? And what if the key has always been forgiveness? There is no ticking now, no seconds to count. Yet time is not absent, only transformed. It flows without rhythm, expands without borders, and bends around thought like light through water. For the soul, what once was a minute might now feel like an hour, or a single moment might hold 1,000 reflections. Earthly time has unraveled, and what remains is something older, deeper. Time as the soul perceives it, not as the body measures it. You linger near the scene of your departure, but it does not feel like delay. It feels like fullness. Memories unfold, not in order but in meaning. Childhood mornings return. A moment of failure reappears, not to accuse but to reveal. A smile once ignored now shines with unbearable clarity. There is no calendar here, only significance. And yet this space between feels long. Souls who experience sudden death often describe it as an eternal instant, a place where past, present, and even glimmers of future merge into a single awareness. You remember someone once said, "A day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like a day." That was no metaphor. Here, it is reality. The soul no longer moves by clocks, but by healing, by release, by readiness. For some, this moment passes quickly, a deep breath of light, and they are drawn upward. For others, the moment stretches, not by punishment, but by purpose. The soul is not idle. It reviews, relives, releases. It senses the prayers being said below, each one like a candle flickering across the veil. Sometimes it waits for someone to arrive, a loved one still living yet near death, a reconciliation that was never spoken aloud. The in-between is not a void, it is a sanctuary, a divine holding space for the soul to awaken fully to its own nature. Ecclesiastes whispers truth into this silence. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart. And that eternity begins not after death, but the moment we cross its threshold. In this sanctuary, the soul is not forced forward. It is invited. And every moment feels like the first breath outside the body, the first light beyond shadow, the first knowing that you are more than you ever imagined. But this moment is not meant to last forever. The soul was made for movement, for ascent, for union. And so the question comes, not from outside, but from within. How long will I linger here? What must I release to be ready for what waits beyond? The cries are not distant. They pierce through the veil like waves against the shore of your spirit. You see them, the faces you loved, now twisted in anguish, knees collapsing, hands trembling, sirens in the distance, too late to matter. But you are there, watching. The soul does not see as eyes do. It perceives. It feels the tremor in a mother's voice, the despair in a child's silence. Not as emotion alone, but as color, light and sound braided together. Grief becomes a force, almost physical, touching the edges of your presence. You long to reach them, to speak, to comfort. But your voice is no longer sound, and your arms no longer form. Still, some part of you reaches out, and in the stillness, they sense something. A warmth, a presence, a memory brushing past the skin. You begin to understand. You are not gone, only changed. From above, you see the world without time. People arriving, prayers rising, regrets blooming like wildflowers in the hearts of those who loved you. Some call your name into the wind, others collapse in silence, words trapped behind clenched teeth. You see your father's hands shake as he grips the steering wheel, trying not to cry. You see your sister staring at the phone, hoping this is a mistake. You feel their hearts breaking, and you ache with them, but also for them. Scripture rises in your awareness like breath. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. These words are no longer poetic. They are alive. You feel them moving through time, carried by angels into human hearts. You realize something profound. Though you cannot change their pain, your presence can soften it. Not through touch, but through love that now flows without boundary. Yet the soul cannot stay in this watching forever. There is more ahead. And so you begin to ask yourself in quiet wonder, if they can still feel me, can they also feel my peace? It does not begin with a voice or a question. It begins with light, a light that does not blind but reveals. And in that light, you see yourself, not your reflection, your essence, your life, unfolding not as memories but as encounters. You are shown not what happened to you, but what you gave, what you withheld, what you left behind in the hearts of others. There is no judgment, only truth. Moments you forgot come alive, a kind word that changed someone's day, a harsh silence that wounded without intent. You see not only your actions, but their echoes. Each scene holds weight, yet the light that surrounds you is not condemning. It is patient. You feel sorrow for some things, joy for others, but above all, you feel seen fully, deeply, without defense. This is the mirror of the soul. It does not ask if you followed every rule. It asks if you loved, if you forgave, if you learned. You remember the words once spoken to your heart in quiet places. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. Now that gaze is real. It is not from above. It is within. You are invited to see yourself as heaven sees you. Flawed, yes, but formed for glory. The shame you carried begins to fade, not because it is forgotten, but because it is healed. Tears rise, but they are not bitter. They are sacred, a release, a cleansing. There is no clock here. This review unfolds as long as the soul needs. Time bends to truth. The soul drinks in what it needs to remember who it truly is. And just as you begin to settle into that light, it shifts again. A new awareness stirs on the horizon of your spirit. Is this the moment to move forward? The light is no longer just around you. It calls, not with sound, but with stillness. It draws your being forward like gravity pulling the tide. There is no pressure, only invitation. You feel the presence again, the one who has waited, not rushed, not demanded, just remained. And now that presence steps closer. It is not a person, it is not a place, it is peace. The soul senses it like a scent long forgotten, like home before birth. You are not told where you will go. You are only shown what waits: rest, truth, healing, above all, love. Many souls speak of this threshold, a place where the veil grows thin and choice becomes clear. The light expands, shapes appear within it, perhaps angels, perhaps those who crossed before you. Their faces are radiant, their eyes welcoming. Still, it is your decision. This is not a command, it is freedom. To stay is possible, but to stay would be to resist your own becoming. You remember Christ's words echoing through time. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? That place is real, not distant. It is waiting. And yet some souls hesitate. They look back one last time, toward the life left behind, toward a child's face, a love unfinished, a task left open. But something in the soul shifts, not forgetting but surrendering. Trust replaces fear, light replaces weight. The moment of departure is not a leap, it is a letting go. And as the soul begins to rise, not through space but through presence, it knows this is not the end. It is the first step of return. But even as some ascend, others stay behind, lingering in places once touched by tragedy. What draws a soul to remain near the place of its death? Not all souls ascend immediately. Some remain, not out of punishment, but presence. They linger not as shadows, but as imprints, memories in motion, emotions unspoken, love unfulfilled. Near the place where the final breath was taken, something still breathes, a trace of what was, a fragment of what remains. People speak of it in whispers, a coldness on a summer day, a voice in the night that says nothing, yet means everything. A scent, a memory, a flicker of light that vanishes when the door opens. These are not fantasies, they are echoes. Spiritual accounts across cultures tell of souls who stay. Some return to the roadside where their life ended. Others hover near loved ones, drawn by the pull of love or duty. In many stories, these presences are not lost. They are waiting. But waiting for what? Some seek closure, a last goodbye, a word that was never spoken, a funeral prayer yet to be offered. Others are caught in loops of emotion, fear, regret, guilt, unable to believe they have died. The Church has long spoken of purgation, a time of cleansing before ascent. Mystics have described souls wrapped in fog, aware of the next realm but not yet ready to enter. They wait not in torment, but in longing. And sometimes the living can help. A prayer whispered at the place of the accident, a candle lit not just in grief but in release, a word of forgiveness, even if spoken into silence. These things reach farther than we know. You recall the words of Isaiah, "The Lord will guide you continually, and you shall be like a watered garden." But guidance requires willingness. The soul must respond to the call. Some do, some don't. Not yet. And so the presence lingers, not to haunt, but to heal, not to disturb, but to remember, until the moment comes when the soul finally lets go. But what do all these fragments of story, pain, and light reveal? What truth hides behind the mystery of sudden death itself? Sudden death feels like interruption, a sentence unfinished, a breath stolen. But in the silence that follows, something ancient begins to speak. What if it was not interruption, but invitation? The soul, torn from time, finds itself in a place where no lie can stand, only truth, only essence, only God. And in that instant, more can be revealed than in a lifetime of questions. Throughout Scripture, sudden departures hold strange beauty. Enoch walked with God, and he was no more. Elijah rose in a whirlwind. Stephen saw heaven open even as stones fell. In each case, heaven touched earth not gently but with urgency. These are not just stories, they are signs. A sudden death shakes the living. It wakes something eternal in the heart. We are reminded that nothing is promised, that every heartbeat is a doorway, that the veil is thinner than we think. And perhaps that is the mystery. That death, especially sudden death, is not the end of the story. It is the uncovering of what was always true, that you were never only flesh, never only time. The soul is older than we remember, and its journey is sacred. So when the world stops in a single moment, when the accident tears the veil and silence falls, do not think all has ended. Something is beginning. A light has awakened. And maybe, just maybe, the soul knew the way all along. If this journey moved your spirit, share this video with someone who still feels the ache of sudden loss. Comment below with the words, "His light still breaks the dawn," if this truth stirred your soul. And subscribe now with notifications on, so you never miss a revelation from beyond the veil. Your story is still being written, and heaven is always closer than it seems.